Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. I thought I'd pop by and do a quick video to create a card. So I hope you all have a good weekend ahead. Another Friday approaches. I can't believe another week has gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my stamp set, Indulge in Daisies. I love this stamp set. And it's stamp set number 541. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to use my gel press. I'm going to use a piece of card, 4 inches by 6 inches, and it's Pink Frog Smooth card. So that's 4 by 6. And I'm using my 5-inch by 7-inch gel press. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my VersaFine Clair, Warm Breeze and Purple Delight. And I normally use my Distress Oxides on the gel press, so I thought, why not use something a little bit different on the gel press? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply the ink just directly, let me just get a wipe, just directly onto the gel press. Let me just wipe that up. And then I'm going to use the Purple Delight and press that on the gel press. I'm just going to do it like so, just going down just with the colours. And obviously we're not going to use the whole gel press, that's absolutely fine. And what I'm going to do is I've got a spare piece of card just on the background, just on the background, just on my non-stick craft sheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just brayer that colour on the gel press, just so that we don't have lines. So I'm just going to brayer it so we don't have lines. And you can have this as another background that you're just placing on one side. Just going to wipe my brayer. Now with your brayer it won't wipe off like it does with the oxides, because like these are a permanent ink pad, but I have a brayer for inks and a brayer for paints. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the daisies on to the gel press. So I'm not pressing too hard, I'm just making sure it stays in contact with the gel press and just pressing very lightly. And then we'll lift that up, and there may be a little bit of ink on the stamp set, so we'll just stamp that onto the background. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 4-inch by 6-inch piece of card, and I'm just going to place that down and just rub. You don't need to rub very hard, you just rub gently. This ink stays wet quite a long time, so it's not like you have to do a print with white paint because it stays wet a long time. And then we have our background. Okay, so we've got like a nice background, and what I'm going to do is just mop up the rest of the ink just from my gel press, just so that it's just mopped up. And what I'm going to do is just give the gel press a little bit of a wipe, because we've got those inks on there that stay wetter longer, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a wipe. Nothing too drastic, just a bit of a wipe. And if your gel press is getting a bit, so you feel like it's not pulling the prints too well, if you feel like that where it's not pulling the prints too well, you can add a little bit of baby oil to your gel press and just work that into your gel press. So you can do that as well. So what I'm going to do now is I've got two backgrounds here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of white paint over, just to make it a little bit more shabby. So I'm going to take the white paint and first of all start on this background, just adding the white paint, just so that it shabbies the background up a little bit. I can't pick this up now because I've stuck it in the paint. Just so it shabbies that background up a little bit. And then I've hardly got any paint on this background, just to add to this one. So I'm just going to add a little bit more paint, just a touch more paint, like so. And I'm just going to work it into the brayer, so I'm almost using dry paint. It's almost dry paint. And I'm just going to go over the background, just adding a little bit of white paint. Now what I should have done was grab my other brayer that I use for paint, but I didn't, but it's not a problem. I normally keep this one just for inks, so I shall just wipe that brayer, just give it a clean. Just giving that a clean, just because I normally just use it for my inks, and it's only got a bit of white paint on, so it's not too much of a problem. There we go. Let's wipe up that white paint. So you've just got two backgrounds, and it's showing you the different ways you can create backgrounds. So here, because I've pressed that stamp on the gel press, hang on a minute, I can't pick it up, it shows a sort of a white because I pressed it onto the gel press and then lifted it. What you can also do, let me just get my different brayer. What you can also do, oops, is, this is going off on tangents again. What you can also do is take your white paint, layer that out onto your non-stick craft sheet, and then press your stamp into the white paint, and then you can press it onto the background. Just let me clean that up before I show you. Just need to clean the stamp. Just clean that stamp. Just because obviously when you're using paint, you do need to be a little bit more careful. So what I'm trying to show you is different ways that you can create backgrounds. Let's grab a piece of kitchen roll. And really, different ways you can get the most out of your product. So with this one, you get a lot paler effect, but you still get the effect. You don't want that bit of gunk, but you still get the effect. That's doing it one way. And then obviously you've got this way as well. Right, what we're going to do is grab our pencils. So we want, let's grab a blue, and do we have a purple? Sorry about the coughing. Let's have that purple there. So we've got this blue and purple, and I'm using the polychromos because it'll go over the paint layers. We've got, oh crikey, light phthalo blue, and we've got some manganese, something violet, magenta violet. Oh, do you know, it takes me ages, but I think the numbers are probably easier to look at. But as long as you've got a blue and a purple, and what I'm going to do is just add some of the pencil crayon to my flowers, just to add to the flowers. So it just adds a little bit more vibrancy to the flowers. So I want you to just colour. Now what I want you to do is take a lot more care than I'm doing. You know, I always say to add your colour in light layers. I'm not pressing on too hard at all. And what I like about these daisies is that they're open. So it gives me an open flower design. Just to add a little bit of colour. And this actually adds a little bit more life to that design. You might not see it in the camera at the moment, but I will lift that up just so that you can see that. In real life, it does add a little bit more life to the project. It really does. And obviously with using the polychromos, it goes straight over the top of those inks. And obviously the paint as well from using the... No, I didn't use paint on this, did it? It was just the inks. Getting all confused now. I used a little bit of white paint just to bray it over the top, just to shabby it up a little bit. I'll just colour that in. And it starts to come to life a little bit more with the colours, just to make it look a little bit different. And I like just, you know, experimenting. The fact that, you know, we've used those VersaFine Clair inks. And you could, with the VersaFine Clair inks, when you added them to the gel press, you could even remove a little bit more of the colour. So, you know, you could make it even lighter. Entirely up to you. So just missed one flower out there. Let's just add, you can use any pencil crayons that you've got to add that bit of colour. Just so you can see that we're just adding a little bit of that colour. And I'm going to add a little bit of the purple as well. Just so that we've got the two colours in the... I'm just going to now add a little bit more intensity just to those flowers. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the purple to each of the flowers. Again, because then it echoes the purple in the background. A pigeon just flew past the window then. I wondered what was going on. So just... And what I like to do is I always like to have a little bit of creative time. It just relaxes you. So just take your time. Just adding a bit of that purple just so that it just pops a little bit more. Just adds a little bit more life to the project, in my humble opinion. And I always think, yes, sometimes projects take a little bit longer, but just take your time doing the project. So there we go. It just adds a little bit of brightness and definition to the design. And what I'm going to do now is grab my little text stamp, the one that I use all the time. And I'm going to ink up the stamp with the Warm Breeze. Just see what the Warm Breeze looks like by stamping a little bit of text just over the background. Brilliant. What this does now is you're inking this stamp up, this text stamp, and what this does is it pushes the daisies into the background. It pushes the daisies into the background, which is exactly what I want, just so that they're part of that backdrop. Let me just leave that there somewhere. Did I leave a wipe out? No, I didn't, and if I did, I've got no idea where it is. So what it does now, this text here pushes the daisies down into the background. Absolutely love that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take, let's just put this back, just so that we're going to take this flower. Now which flower do I want? I spend more time deciding which flower than anything else. So what I tend to do is you can take your flowers and you can place them down like this, or you can use your acetate and decide what you want. But it's nice sometimes to have something a little bit different. So I'm going to use this one here that I can't get off. There we go. So we're going to stamp that onto white card. Going to use my black Nocturne ink. Just use that black Nocturne ink. Let's just stamp two just in case I want the two. Just in case. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, oh, wrong one. I'm going to take the leaf from the same stamp set. we're going to ink that up as well. I don't want to overcomplicate the card, but I do want a few layers. So, why have I always got hair? Nobody knows, do they? So I'm just going to add a little bit of colour just to my flower. And I'm just adding a little bit of light colour to the flower. Not pressing on too hard. And I'm used to it now with not pressing on hard. But if you don't want to press on hard, hold your pencil higher up and it forces you not to press on too hard. So just hold it higher up. So now I can just press on a little bit lighter. But I am used to doing it now, so I don't press on very hard anyway. And you just want this to have a suggestion of colour. Let's just do the blue one on both flowers. So just colour that in. And I'm being a little bit quicker just so that you're not waiting while I'm colouring that in. So I'm being a little bit quicker when I colour in. And I'm going to leave the leaf in the white colour. What I also need is a white pencil. Grab a white pencil. And then I'm going to do is add a little bit of the purple, like we did on the background. So I'm going to add a little bit of purple to my flowers, exactly like we did in the background. Just to sort of echo the colours, but also just to add a hint of that purple. I'm not pressing on too hard. I don't want that purple to be too overpowering. Obviously I decided I'm not even colouring that petal. Let's just colour that there. So the purple is not overpowering everything. It's sort of like a hint of the purple. So let's add that to both the flowers. Like so. So you just enjoy adding your colour and creating. Don't sort of, you know, rush yourself too much. Enjoy the process of just adding a bit of colour to your flower. So I've added that little touch of purple. I must say it's lovely. And then what I'm going to do is come down and press a little bit harder with the blue. So I'm just pressing a little bit harder with that blue, just to give me a little bit more pressure and to give me a little bit more intensity of colour. So I am pressing a little bit harder just to give me some intensity of colour. And what I'm also doing is leaving some white at the edge, at the tips of the flowers. I'm leaving a little bit more white at the tips of the flowers. There's a couple of places that I've actually missed adding the purple. And it's when you start colouring it all that you notice where you've not added the purple. So just adding a little bit more depth now with my colouring. Just going to go in with the purple a little bit more, just to add a little bit. Again, I never press on too hard. Everybody's different. Some people go in hard straight away everybody's different with how they colour and how you colour as well, you know, what makes you happy. And I'm going to go in with the white now and just blend that with the white pencil crayon. Just blending that with the white pencil crayon. But I'm leaving the tips of the flower white just because then it just adds a little bit of brightness. And I can see the difference in the two flowers because I've added more blue. I've pressed on harder on that other flower. So I'm going to do the same on this flower. And we are going to have to spend a little bit of time just cutting these out. But you can make yourselves a brew or whatever while we cut these out. I'm going to add a little bit more purple just to these, just because there's a few areas that I've not added that purple and it's noticeable to my eye. So just take your time and colour in, you know, enjoying it, enjoying the process, just to those. A little bit there. And you can go in even harder with your blue. I've obviously missed there as well. That's better. Go in even harder with your blue. Just so that it shows up a little bit more. And then you can blend with that white. And you would take a lot more time than I'm doing just to blend your colour. Just blend it all out. And just blend that colour. And then leave the tips so that they're white, just because that brings a little bit of life to your design, in my personal opinion. Let's grab some scissors, just so you can see. Just brings a little bit of life to your design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a white edge on these flowers. I think it'll look quite nice with a white edge. So just take your time just to cut those out. It's not about rushing the process at all. It's about enjoying the process. And I'm always trying really hard to bring you something a little bit different each time I create. Now, that might be in the form of a different colour scheme. It might be in the form of a different image. It might be in the form of a different layout. But I'm always trying to vary things up a little bit for you, just so that it looks a bit different each time, and so that it feels a bit different each time as well. So there we've got just a beautiful flower just cut out. So we're going to cut this one out and leave. Let's cut some of this card away because it makes it so much easier to cut out if you've got less card to play around with. And I always want to bring it closer to me. It's just the way I cut out, it's normally closer to my body. And I'm actually moving the card rather than my scissors. I just find it easier that way to cut things out. And you get a better flow when you're cutting out if you move the card. Obviously it also helps if you're not recording a video and trying to keep it in camera most of the time as well. So just cut that out. Oh, I've got like a little itch. Right, let me just cut that out. There we go. So just leaving a little white border, just so it'll pop a little bit more, just against that backdrop. So I've got my two flowers out, and let's just cut this leaf out. I just like working with a smaller piece of card. That's the only reason that I sort of remove some of the card. I just find it easier working with those smaller pieces. Now I'm keeping the leaf in white because that will also pop against the backdrop, just so I can play around with the whole composition. You'll know when you start playing around with the composition, how many elements that you want to keep. It's funny as well, when you go on video, you lose the ability to speak properly. Well, I do anyway. So just cut this out. I love this little leaf. Really works well with a lot of the flowers. Works nicely. And it's not too difficult to cut out either. And I love the fact that it's got the text and the numbers in, so it coordinates with all my other designs. There we go. To move my chair back in a little bit, and let's just bring this in. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to lean over and just look. There we go. Just leaning over, and what I want to do is I want to get some white cotton, so just normal white cotton. The end's never available. So I'm just going to take a whole load of this white cotton, just to, I normally use black cotton or I use sisal. Well, I want the white element in this. So I'm just going to spread this out and we'll capture it with some of our flowers. So just bend the flower a little bit. And what you can do is, if you've got, let me see if I've got like a mat. You can use a mouse mat. I haven't got one of these professional mats that you use for this, that and the other. And you can use your ball tool or you can use your scissors and just dome that flower. I'm just using the back of my scissors. A professional way is to use your ball tool, is to use your round ball tool. And what it ends up is it ends up domed, so that it's quite domed. And that's what I want. So let's do that on these. So I'm just going to use the back of my scissors. Not everybody can afford every single tool that everybody's got. So it's nice to show different ways that you can do things. So I'm just using the back of my scissors. I'm using a squashy mat that I just found in the cupboard. It's not even a professional mat, but it's got some foaminess to it. So you can use your mouse mat and just adding a little bit of that domeness to my flowers. In real life, that domeness really works. Let's add a little bit of life to the flowers, to the leaf. It's not a flower, Tracy. It's a leaf. There we go. Let's move that out of the way. In other words, chuck it on the floor. And then we're going to get some, I think on this occasion, I'm going to use my gel, my ultra thick gel. You can use your 3D foam if you wish, entirely up to you. I want to keep some of that domeness, just so that it stays like a dome. So I'm just going to add this here, like so. And I love playing around. So let's move that up a bit. And you see, if I'd have used 3D foam tape, I would struggle. Let me just move this up a bit. I'll tell you why I'm playing with the, let me show you why I'm playing around. Let me grab, you know, I said I like to, can't open the packaging. I like to try and make things look different for you each time, just so you know that I do spend time thinking about designs. And what I'm thinking is this will go over the top like this. So on my card, it'll look quite framed. So this is what I'm thinking. Now, I got these mounts from Amazon. And I thought they'd make my cards look a little bit different. I'm always trying to be different, and just so that I stay true to my style, but always adding different elements, trying to make it different for you. So let me just add, why I've got so much 3D gel for the leaf, I'll never know. So just add that in there. And the good thing about the 3D gel is, let me just remove that. Just removing some of that 3D gel. There we go. Just so that you can just see that we've got the two flowers on there. And we've got that leaf. We are going to add some wording as well. Let's just put this 3D gel away. Now the 3D gel is going to dry solid overnight. So you just need to be aware that it dries solid overnight. So what I'm going to do is, to match my mounts, I've got a 6x8 card blank, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add, let's just work on some scrap paper. I've just wiped 3D gel foam all over me face. That was attractive. So what I'm going to do is just take my adhesive, which is nowhere to be found. There we go. Take my adhesive. And this is on a 6x8 card. And obviously I could make a box for it if I wanted to send it in the post, or I could hand it to the person. but I'm always trying to make my cards look different. So place that there, don't press it down, because then I've got this 3D, this it's like out of a little bit of mount board. And then we're going to place this on the top, just so that it, now my adhesive won't come out, just makes my cards look a little bit different. Also, I bought these because I can use these then on canvases as well if I wish, just to make mine look a little bit different. So just, and what I wanted it to be, you know, normally I add a black mat. I'm trying to be different for you sometimes, just so that if you don't like a black mat, then it just gives you an alternative look. This almost looks like a framed picture because of that mat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a sentiment that's going to bring a pop of black. So let's just move this on one side. So I'm going to use the same stamp set, which is the worded Petals. Just bring this in. And just add the flower. Text. Make sure your fingers are clean, because it's very easy to get that black ink all over you. So just cut this out. It gives me that pop of black, but with the white card. I'm going to bring in my copier sheet just so that it's nice and clean. And just, so I want it in there. I think we're going to have it there, which is perfect. Now what I'm going to do, now if I place it in here, normally you know that I go round with the Inktense pencil, but because I've got that cotton behind, I'm just going to add a touch of black ink that's on my piece of cotton dry foam. You know, this is the cotton dry foam that I added the black ink to, and it's been in my drawer for a while, so it's not soaking wet ink. So I've just added a little bit of that shading. So just add that in there. You can still see the background, just so you can see those daisies. You can still see that. Let's just move that out the way. And then I just want to grab a Blackbird. Just grab a Blackbird. Where's that gone? So I'm going to take one of my little Blackbirds. You'd think I'd have hundreds of these cut out, but I use them so much that I haven't. I use them on almost so many projects, just so many projects, because it's just a perfect little embellishment. Let's just stamp this onto a scrap of my card. Now, if you wanted to, you could ink this up. You could ink your stamp up and then you could stamp part of the daisies. I can't tell whether I've got all the Blackbird or not, but you could stamp part of the daisies on the Blackbird and then stamp the Blackbird on the background, and then you get the daisies in the Blackbird. So it's entirely up to you. So which one do I want facing where? So we'll cut this one out initially. And I've got that piece of cotton dry foam already out so that I can colour the edges of my Blackbird. There we go. And I can colour the edges. Just so that those edges are not bright white. Let's bring in that copy of paper. And I think I'll just spend a couple of minutes just making sure my fingers are clean. Let me just make sure those are clean. Wipe them on my pyjamas like I normally do. And we're just going to add him here. Just add them here. There we go. And then normally I would add my white splatters, obviously, before. Let's get the pump flowing. I would normally add them splatters before I add the mount. Then I'm just going to grab, let's just get rid of, where's that foam? Well, we'll get that out the way. Have I got any silver ones? Yes, I have. I've got some of these jump rings. So I'm just going to take silver jump ring. I'm going to put one over the F for flower, which obviously is taking me ages. Let me see if I've got some more of the silver ones. Let's just grab. So these are normal jump rings, you know, that you use for jewellery. That's all they are. I want to add 3. I need my nails cutting because that would make it far easier. Just to give me balance. Now if you want, you could fill those with glossy accents if you wish. Right, what we're going to do is now just take a look at this. So this is a card blank now. This is actually a card blank. But just so you can see, it looks a little bit different than adding the black mat. I'm trying to show you different ideas to change your projects up a little bit. And just so that, you know, I do something that's a little bit different than I normally do. I'll go back to my black mats, but I'll also be doing this as well, where I add these mounts. And what you could do is also create a smaller piece of card on the inside, put the black mat on, and then have this over the top. So instead of your 4 by 6, you'd probably do 3.5 by 5.5, and then you can have a black mat and then add this over the top. So it's just to show something a little bit different, and I think that looks very classy. What you could also do is you could add a word here if you want, but I want to keep this nice and fresh and clean. So I hope you enjoyed that video and the step-by-steps, and these flowers are really domed, so they feel lovely. So I hope you enjoyed that step-by-step. Can't wait to see your take on the card, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.